My name is Jim McCanns. I'm the Director of Emergency Medical Services. You may ask, what does that have to do with coyote sightings? Well, I think some of you may have one of those job descriptions that have other duties as assigned. That's where it shows up. But I have tonight, we're welcoming Jerry Check, and Jerry is the state game warden for this area until, what time, midnight tonight? But it's like a state trooper. It's statewide, but his district was just very recently reassigned, but the information is the same. He's very familiar with Delaware County and has been quite an asset for us here in Haverford Township. I also have our animal control officer, Mr. Owen O'Connell, and he is a common face here within the township. He may be the most well-known person in the township. But I'm going to turn over the program to Officer Check to address some of the issues and to just get information out there as to what's occurring here in Haverford Township. And afterwards, we'll have questions. I'll come around with the microphone. This is being recorded, so I'm going to have to bring the microphone to you for a question. I'll get it to you. That way people can have the benefit at home when this is rebroadcast on the Township channel of actually hearing the questions that are asked. So thank you very much for coming here tonight, and thank you very much, Officer Check.
Good evening. Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Is that working? Good. I'm going to have to remember to stay behind here because I'll probably start wandering, so I might have to get directed back. My name is Warden Check with the Pennsylvania Game Commission. For those of you who don't know what the Pennsylvania Game Commission is, it's a state wildlife agency. We have 135 wardens throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we're each assigned to a county or part of a county. And then we have deputy game wardens that are they're assigned to the county that they live in, and they basically work part-time when they can to help with the state's wildlife agency, or the state's wildlife. We're responsible for about 465 different critters in the state, whether it be wild birds, wild animals, all wild stuff. Okay, the domestic animals are dealt by animal control, deals with them, the SPCA. We don't deal with dogs and cats, horses, cows. We handle everything that's wild out there. Somebody just said something about fish, since if you can't, they can't hear it. There's another agency called the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, and they have waterways conservation officers that stock the fish, and they check your fishing licenses, they patrol on the boats. There's another agency out there called DCNR, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and they're the state parks, but they basically stay in the state parks. So we patrol everywhere in the county, because wildlife could be anywhere in your backyard. We don't stay in a state park or a county park or a township park, because obviously the wildlife belongs to everyone and it roams wherever it wants to go. So we could be anywhere. I thought I would spend a lot of my day in the park when I got this job, but it's not. You're all over the place. You're on private property and farms, wherever. Jim said, I had Delaware County now for probably about 8 years, on and off. My primary district is Philadelphia County. So the entire county of Philadelphia is the city of Philadelphia as well. And that's my main, where I'm assigned. For the past 8 years, I've been assigned to Delaware County because we just haven't had a warden that stays here, gets transferred here, then gets out. So he said, and I am very intimately familiar with Delaware County now, and I just got an email today, unfortunately, that at close of business, whenever that is, 5 o'clock or midnight, I don't know, that I've been reassigned to Southern Montgomery County. So I'll have Philadelphia and Southern Montgomery. I won't have Delaware County anymore. Actually, I was going to call you and say, hey, 5 o'clock, I'm done here, so I can't come down tonight, but I'll tie up the loose ends and whatnot. This is going to be kind of informal. I'm just going to go talk about coyotes. I have a PowerPoint here that, some pictures and things that we can go over. You can see some things, some tracks. It's going to be about an hour long. I have an hour. I don't know. We could be here 45 minutes, whatever. I'll just talk about coyotes. I'll show you some of the PowerPoint. I'll answer some questions, and we'll just take it from there. So, like I said, it's kind of going to be kind of informal, and I'll try to go over as much as I can, and then we'll take some questions or whatnot. I did get a call today from a state rep's office that they wanted to know what the issue was, and there's not really an issue. According to us, The Game Commission, there is not an issue with coyotes. This was just, somebody caught one on a camera in social media, and it went, I guess, made its rounds through social media. I don't have Facebook. I can just about do my email. So, you know how that can get. Something goes through social media, and the one in Radnor recently, a month or so ago, that ended up being 90 pounds by the end of the day. Okay, and a 90-pound coyote is, yeah, the record coyote that is taken in some of these coyote hunts that we have in Pennsylvania is like 55, 60 pounds is like the record. So I don't know where this 90-pound coyote is, but, you know, sometimes things, you know, snowball. So.
Was it healthy?
From the pictures, I didn't actually see it. From the pictures, it was healthy. So coyotes have been in Pennsylvania for many, many years. Okay, they're in Philadelphia. I have them in Philadelphia. I don't know if anybody remembers I guess it was last year at this, right around this time. A coyote made its way into Northeast Philadelphia, which they're there. People had just seen it, and it got into the Mayfair section of the city, which is a pretty populated neighborhood. They're in Pennypack Park. I don't know how many people are familiar with Philadelphia, but Pennypack Park is a city park that's 1,800 acres. There's a stream that runs through it. Coyotes are seen in there once in a while. Northeast Airport in Philadelphia. I'm just kind of giving you a reference to, you know, if they're in Philadelphia, they're in Delaware County. They're in every county in the state. At the Northeast Airport, it's a huge airport that's mowed. It's got a lot of meadows. It's got some wooded areas for crash zones, and coyotes are often seen there. So, like I said, it's not unusual to see a coyote. I'm not alarmed that they're around. In my 22-year career, I investigated zero coyotes attacking people. You're kind of too big for a coyote to come. You know, if they're hungry, they're opportunistic. They're gonna take a cat. They'll take a small dog. They're gonna take a chicken, whatever they can get their paws on. They're gonna take. They'll take roadkill, dead animals, whatever. They eat berries. They eat nuts. They eat all kinds of things. They're omnivores, so they eat both, you know, vegetation and meat. So zero coyote attacks. I've had a few road kills in Philadelphia. So people also say there's mountain lions all over the place. We've had 0 mountain lions. I don't know. You see them up in Potter County, or they're always up in Potter County, right? They're all over the state. We have the Nittany lions, but we don't have any mountain lions confirmed wild in Pennsylvania. Now, I kind of say that with a little chuckle there because I have investigated several monkeys and tigers and alligators and caimans in Philadelphia in the parks. You know, somebody calls and says, "Hey, there's an alligator out here." And you know, back in the day, I said, "No, there's not an alligator. You're wrong." And I learned quickly not to say that because when the police were there, I said, "There's an alligator here." So I got there, and there was an alligator. It was a caiman, but basically an alligator type. Swimming in Wissahickon Creek. There it was. So, but it's not native. Obviously, if somebody's pet gets too big, they unfortunately let it go. And now it becomes, you know, it's out there in the wild. You go feed the ducks tonight or take a walk in the park, and there's an alligator swimming around the creek. Or a monkey gets loose from somebody's pet. So never say never. We never know what's out there, but coyotes, I've seen a few in Philadelphia on night patrol, not a whole lot, but I picked up a few dead ones. Delaware County, well, one was hit in this township recently. I think that's what spurred this conversation. It was hit in front of the middle school, correct? Okay, I mean, I got that information. I think that was like 5:30 in the morning or something. It was very early in the morning because my phone went off. I think it was you. I think it was you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're early in the morning. I guess one got hit by a car, and the police arrived and put it down. Obviously, if an animal's sick or injured, usually it gets dispatched. Animals can be rehabbed. Wild animals can be rehabbed if we can get it to a rehab facility. Coyotes are rabies vector species, which means they could carry rabies. They're known to carry rabies. So are foxes, raccoons. So if we get our hands on something like that and it's injured, it's going to get put down, probably not going to get rehabbed. So the police ended up putting that coyote down, and I think that's part of what spurred this. And then the one in Radnor's not too far from here. One was running around. A couple people saw it, posted it on social media, and everybody's worried about their kids and their dog. You can worry about your kids and your dog. That's not unusual for you to worry about that. But if there's a coyote in the area or it's in your neighborhood, keep your dog on a leash. Maybe look out back in the yard before you let the dog out. How many people in here have seen a coyote? Y'all live in this township? I don't know, we have 20 people here or so. You've seen one here? Okay. So you can see, like, they're nocturnal, first of all, so they're going to be out at night. Okay, they do look. This is a pelt of one. They come in very. You know what? I'm going to start I'm going to start the PowerPoint because you'll see a lot of pictures. But basically, that's about the size of a coyote. Okay, so it looks like a small German Shepherd. Many people that would see this out in the park or out in the wild somewhere might think it's you may have seen one and just thought it was somebody's small German Shepherd. It's very, very small German Shepherd, this would be. Okay, they look exactly like a German Shepherd. They do come in many color phases, and that's some of the pelts I have here is to demonstrate those. After the program, if you want to come up, look at them, touch them, feel them, that's fine. But you can see that behind me that they do come in many color phases. Let me get this started because this will probably answer a whole bunch of questions. Okay. That's basically what a coyote looks like out in the wild. That's a live coyote out there. So as you can see, it kind of looks like a German Shepherd. They could come in many different color phases. They are Pennsylvania's largest canine. We have red foxes, eastern coyotes, and gray foxes in Pennsylvania. Say again? Did you say pit? No, gray foxes. Gray, red, and eastern coyotes are the three canines. They're canine. They're dogs. They're wild dogs, basically, or the dog family. So that's basically what one looks like. And the males can be up to about 40, 50 pounds, large one. Females are slightly smaller. They're up to 35, 45 pounds is basically their weight. The red foxes are red. I have some of those pelts up here I could show you. And the red fox is about the size of a house cat. Gray fox is slightly smaller than that. You probably won't see too many gray foxes around here. They like a woodland habitat. I haven't seen any gray foxes around. Okay. We're all out of time already? Say again? Well, they're roughly. Oh, I'm sorry. She said that she has seen a gray fox at the other end of the township. What end? Up by the Radnor. Okay, because the whatever TV can't hear you, so that's why I want to repeat it. Well, they're roughly the size of a house cat. I mean, rough. Let me show you, for example. Okay, you're not going to mistake this for a coyote, okay? Because that's very small compared to what a coyote would be. Well, average size. I mean, sure, they could get a little bit bigger than this. Okay. Just some other pictures of coyotes. When I said they're nocturnal, they come out at night. They do their hunting at night. They usually, they can be solo. They will pack up. A family group will pack up and hunt. They'll eat fawns. They'll take a deer down, a small deer or an injured one. They will feed on roadkill deer or ones that are maybe hit by a car and make it into the woods and then are injured and can't get around and keep up with the other ones. Like I said, they can pack up 2 or 3 of them to hunt and take down a full-grown deer. It basically looks like a dog print when you're out there. You can see the front and the hind paws, and about the size there. It says they're about 1 inch and 5/8 to 2 7/8 of an inch wide. They have claws there. You can see a lot of people will call about the mountain lion that's out there. And then when we go investigate the tracks, mountain lions have claws that retract. They're not out when they're walking. So if there's claw prints in the track, then it's obviously not a cat, which usually well, if we can find tracks or good tracks, that's a good indicator of if it was a canine or a feline. That's really hard to see, but this is just a picture of in the mud of a coyote track. Basically, it's going to look like a dog print. It is a dog print, really. Okay, the other canines we have are red foxes. They're usually orange or red. They're much smaller than a coyote, and I'm sure you see these around all the time. especially in the springtime right now, all the animals are having babies. So just because something is out during the daytime does not mean it's rabid. Okay, right now, whatever it is, a coyote, a raccoon, a fox, whatever it is, they have babies. So instead of her trying to go out and get a rabbit each day or a mouse or two, her and dad are actually trying to get 2 or 3 rabbits, squirrels, whatever, voles, shrews, whatever's out there. They need to feed the 4 pups or 5 pups that they have back in the den. So they're not just going to come out at night and hunt because now they have a whole bunch of mouse to feed. So they're going to be out during the day hunting, and if you see them during the day, it's no need for alarm. Obviously, if something's foaming at the mouth, 22 years on this job, I've never seen anything foam at the mouth. Not once. Some salivation maybe, but not like the movie Cujo back in the day. Basically, an animal is going, when you come outside or when you're walking down the trail, they usually look at you and run away. That's normal activity. If something doesn't do that, it's walking in circles, it's stumbling, it looks like it's drunk. A lot of raccoons look like they're drunk. They basically are walking, falling. They could have distemper or rabies. That's a problem. That's a call to 911 or to the Game Commission. Most people are calling 911 and the police will come out. And I neglected to do this. Owen is over there. He was mentioned. Do you want to come up for a minute, Owen? I work the entire county. I'm one guy. A lot of townships have their own animal control officer. So Owen is your animal control officer, and I just wanted him to tell you his hours and a couple things about what he does. I forgot to do that. Sorry.
Hi, Owen O'Connell with Animal Control for Haverford Township. My working hours are 7 to 3, Monday through Friday. If you have an emergency, you can't reach me, it's a 911 call. Then they'll dispatch me. Well, I'm downstairs and I'm available. Any questions you have, just call me at any time. Be glad to answer them. Okay?
Somebody brought up a question
Yes.
about cats running loose.
Cats run at large, yes.
What's the rule for the township on cats being loose?
We're governed under the Township Animal Ordinance, Chapter 49. If you go on that online, you can get it. But cats are not permitted to be run at large. And all animals have to have the rabies tags on them as per state law. Dogs, cats, etc. You're welcome.
And just to preface with that, like I said, I cover an entire county, so people call us, and then we have our dispatch center dispatches us for jobs, whether it's injured wildlife, whatever the issue is, and also nuisance wildlife. I usually don't have too many nuisance wildlife, it's more nuisance people, but if an animal is causing a nuisance, depending on what that nuisance is, there's certain rules and regs that you can trap it, move it, transfer it, kill it. In certain circumstances, most of you are not farmers. Your chickens in your backyard, when the fox and the coyote come after them and eat them, that you're not making your living off of your chickens. That's a hobby for you, so unfortunately you're going to suffer. You may suffer crop damage or loss by a coyote or a rabbit. That's basically food for them. So to us, we're not going to come out and remove the animal, the fox, for killing your chickens. Put your chickens in at night, put them in the pen, and that might help. If they're not inside the pen, then they're coyote and fox food, basically. Something's getting in your trash cans, raccoon or something like that. You're going to call us and we're going to say, do something about your trash. Put it in the garage. Don't put so much food in the trash can until trash day. And we'll refer a lot of things to the local township animal control. Some of them lend traps. They do all different things in different townships. So that's why I wanted to make sure he was here so you guys knew he was available to do different things with. You do domestics too, right?
Yes.
So he does domestics and wild stuff. So, okay, thanks, Owen. This here is a gray fox, slightly smaller than that. They like woodland habitats. And this actually, if you can remember a gray fox and a gray squirrel climbs trees. A gray fox can actually climb a tree. So if you're a little squirrel running around, and you can get away from the red fox. You run up a tree. That's a good thing. When the gray fox is chasing you, he can go right up the tree after you. So, like I said, they're not. I haven't seen any around. Not to say that there's just because I haven't seen one. The lady here says she saw one at the other end of the township. So, red foxes and gray foxes. That's what their paw prints look like. Basically the same thing. Dog. They look like a dog print, but a little bit slightly smaller than the coyote. Tracks. Just some more pictures of what they look like. Okay, if you look up at that picture, that's basically what coyotes eat. They'll eat the berries off of trees. They'll eat crab apples there. You see the one top picture. That's one of us picking up a roadkill deer. If you see a deer out there that's on the side of the road, in your yard, whatever, that's been hit by a car, and if you go in the rear hindquarters, its butt basically is eaten out, which happens very quickly. With a lot of times, by the time I get there, within 24 hours to pick up a deer or so, when the hindquarters are eaten out, that's a fox. A fox will go. There's a big lump of meat there. They'll eat that out right away. If you see the entrails, the rib cage, and the neck area totally obliterated, I don't think I have any pictures of that, but basically totally obliterated within 24 to 48 hours of when that deer's there. Obviously, if it's been there a week or so and the vultures have been eating it, but if it's pretty soon after that deer has been hit by the car or whatever caused its death, that's definitely a coyote. So like when I get there, I can look at it and say, that's a coyote is in the area, or that's a fox. If you look down, that's a sheep. Coyotes eat a lot of sheep. Are they a nuisance to farmers? If you're raising sheep, sheep are pretty not real bright animals. They kind of hang around and they're in a pen. So if you're a coyote and you come across a bunch of sheep out there in a pen, you're just going to jump that fence and you got a buffet right there. And they will come kill it. They'll come back and eat on it. And then if there's more sheep, they will come back in 2 nights and kill another one. They don't kill for fun. It's too hard to do. They got to run around, chase things. They conserve energy. They're not just running around like your dog runs around the yard. You take it for a walk, it runs around, goes crazy. Its bowl is full of food the next day or that evening. Coyotes aren't running around, wasting energy. They're going to be sitting tight, just out there doing what they have to do. But their next meal, it depends on, like when they're walking around, they're always looking because if they see a prey, they're going to get it. They don't have a bowl sitting there waiting for them when they get home. So back to that sheep there, if you see that sheep right up by its neck, basically a coyote is going to go up and grab it by the throat and kill it that way. So if you can see those wounds there by the neck, if somebody calls and says, hey, my sheep are dead or whatever, Fido, and we don't know what did it or what, if it's grabbed by the throat like that, a coyote did it. So, fox is going to jump up on a sheep and hang on it. Fox is too small. Fox isn't going to go after a sheep. It's too big. They're going to go after rabbits and smaller prey. Your house cat in the middle there, that's coyote food. So if you have a cat outside, it's an outside cat, you might want to bring it in. If not, it's prey out there to hawks. It's prey out there to fox. It's prey out there. It's prey. So if it gets eaten, you might want to bring your cat in, or it may suffer. It may not come back. The other pictures are some deer. Obviously, I kind of mentioned deer. Another couple of weeks, the deer are going to be having fawns, and fawns are dropped. They can't get around real good. That's coyote food. They'll kill a fawn pretty easily. Once the fawn, after a couple of weeks, the fawn can get up, run around, kind of run away. It has a chance. But coyotes aren't taking full-grown deer down regularly. They're usually the sick or injured ones, but they'll eat the fawns this time of year, or in another month or so. Rabbits obviously have a lot of babies. They get eaten quite regularly by coyotes and foxes. And then that last picture is a grasshopper. They're opportunistic foxes. Will eat insects. They'll eat berries and meat. I do have some coyote scat that I found in the woods today. No, this is rubber. But it basically looks like, dog scat. It's kind of hard to tell the difference between the two, but if you look at it, your dog eats basically its food. This will have, if you examine it a little bit, out there, it's going to have hair in it. Okay, your dog probably not going to have hair in its feces. There's going to be berry seeds in it. Like if you look at this, you can't see it in this one, but the real one out in the woods. So if somebody says there's a coyote around, I can look at the feces and kind of tell that that's a dog or a coyote by what's in the feces. There's some feces on a rock. Coyotes will usually, that's in the middle of a road. Coyotes will usually, and foxes, they'll usually go to the bathroom. They'll go to the bathroom pretty much anywhere, but they usually like to put it on a rock somewhere so that other coyotes see it. That's another coyote crap. After several days, it kind of dries up, but that's more of it. And what they'll do is, I could go back, but they want other critters to see that, so that's why it's on the rock. They want you to know that, hey, this is my territory, to stay away. So sometimes that's why they put it right on a rock out in the middle of, I see it all the time when you walk in the woods. Your dog is just going to go, and it's going to go where it wants to go. A coyote's or a coyote or fox or gray fox is going to purposely look for that rock and do it on the rock so somebody else sees it, more often than not. That's just another, okay. Just the Woodland Habitat, they are everywhere. They're adapted to the city of Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and the big woods of Pennsylvania. Obviously, there's more coyotes up in the north central part of the state and the Poconos than there are around here, but they are in every single county. They like farmlands and fields. They have adapted to everything. And as you can see there, I don't know where that was taken. Some of the coyotes that I'm going to show you in a few minutes are taken right here locally, but you can see a neighborhood in the background, and there's a coyote right in the local cemetery in either a town or a city. I just did the same talk in the Wissahickon last week because people saw a coyote up there. That is a coyote in the Wissahickon. In Philadelphia, that's Chestnut Hill College. That red flag in the background says Chestnut Hill College. So, and if anybody knows where that is, right on the border of Philadelphia and White Marsh. White Marsh has a lot of coyotes. That's one. And if you look at that, a German Shepherd that you're raising or is your pet, if you look down where its stomach comes down by its hind legs, you see how thin it is there? That's normal for a wild animal because they're out, they eat what they can catch. I've been turkey hunting, or for anybody that turkey hunts, you get a turkey out there and you bring it home for Thanksgiving or whatever. It's not quite like the turkey you buy at the store that's fattened up on purpose. There's not a whole heck of a lot of meat on that wild turkey because it's out there, it's eating what it can and surviving. So it's much leaner, thinner. So sometimes if you see that, that's kind of a telltale sign that that was a coyote, not somebody's dog or a German Shepherd. The Mars Arboretum, which is right next to the Wissahickon, and once again, right next to Chestnut Hill College, that is a trail camera that actually I had out for deer hunting, and a coyote had walked by at, I don't know, it says at what time there, it's 57 degrees out, but that was in the middle of the night sometimes, just walking down the trail right by the Mars Arboretum. This one wasn't taken in Philadelphia, but that is 30 yards out the back of someone's house that claimed that, no, there's no coyotes around. If you put a wildlife camera out there, I mean, hunters use them. All know what they're called, trail cameras, or people call them wildlife cameras. You buy one, and it's basically a camera that you stick out in the woods and set it up, put an SD card in it. It's got infrared. They can be $200. They can be $50. They're pretty cool to put out. Put one out if you like to feed birds. Put one out at your bird feeder because it's pretty. You sit there and see all the little pretty birds during the day, and they're a mess. Everything goes on the ground when they're flopping around in their bird seed. Well, at nighttime, the other rodents are going to come by, and when those other little rodents there, mice, whatever, if the squirrels come by, the foxes and the coyotes are going to come by. I live in Cheltenham, Montgomery County, and in my backyard, I border a park. I have bird feeders out there, and every once in a while, I'll see a commotion outside, and there's a puff of feathers, or sometimes I won't see the commotion. I'll go to put bird feed out, and there's a whole pile of feathers, out there, so I know that the fox has been by. Now, I actually do have people that would call, and they would call us about that and say, hey, the fox is here eating birds at my bird feeder. And that's a complaint from them. Now, to you or to the public, that might be a big deal, but that's what nature does. If you're putting bird seed out, you're attracting birds. If I'm a hawk, I can sit up on the wire and I can pick off all these birds coming to your bird feeder, or I can go out and sit somewhere and try to find birds. I mean, they're not stupid animals. You're going to go to the free buffet or the the half price buffet. Well, they're going to do the same thing. If they're going to come and sit on the wire and they know that birds come here every day or quite frequently, so that's normal. I would say, oh, the fox came and ate the bird. That's pretty cool. And some people get upset with that because that's and rightly so. I mean, if you don't want the fox in your backyard, but that's what's going to happen. So this is a lady that swore that there was no coyotes or anything around, and that's right by her bird feeders. So you never know what's lurking 20 feet from your house at 1:22 in the morning. Another just pictures of the different coyotes. Now that's a fox, but that's at nighttime, obviously. Now trapping, and whether you like trapping or not, trapping is legal to do. And I did bring some traps and a picture of traps. That's not what a trap looks like out in the wild. That's a trap being set. I'll show you this up here, and then I can show it if people come up. Your dog might get caught in this trap. Okay, trappers are supposed to be trapping out where they have permission. That doesn't always happen. Okay, so if I have permission to trap on a farm, and your dog is on that farm, your dog probably shouldn't be on that farm. That's not always how it is down here. But somebody shouldn't be trapping in your local park. Does it happen? Yes. They're usually putting these traps in areas where the fox are going to go, or the coyote. Okay, when you just don't take one of these, set it out in the middle of the forest and hope that coyote or fox is going to step on this little pan that's, I don't know, 2 inches. It's like, that'd be like hitting the lottery. They look for the sign. They look for areas where they're going under a fence, and they set them up. They also set these up, and then they put what's called bait. I don't know if you can see it, but where just about 3 inches from his hand above the trap, you see a little hole? They put some scent and things down there, and what happens is when the coyote or fox or whatever comes up to that hole to smell that, there's some scent down in there, whatever it is, and when he goes to smell that, he's going to step right on that pan, and then he's going to be there. The trap is supposed to be anchored into the ground. There's swivels on it. These chains swivel so that they don't break their leg, and trappers are supposed to check their traps every 24 to 36 hours. So, a person that's out there trapping for fur, they want to go out, they want to get that fur. They want to either, they want to catch the animal. They don't want it to get all messed up by, keep circling around or being out there too long. They want to get that, reset the trap somewhere else, and catch another one. So it's not like the animal's out there for 3 days. Now, does that happen? Well, maybe it does, but a trapper's supposed to check the traps every 24 to 36 hours. And this one doesn't have it on there. This one doesn't have it on there because it's just a show trap, but there's a tag that has to be on here with their name, address, and phone number. Now, a lot of trappers aren't going to put that on there because if you find this, then you're going to go over their house and break their windows or be upset with them. So what they can do is they can get a number from the Game Commission, which is just a number that's registered so that when we come out and check it, or if you come out and say, this guy's got traps on my property he's not supposed to. Now, if somebody's doing something illegal, they don't put their name on them usually, but legal trappers are supposed to have their name on them or that number. So I can take that number, run it like a license plate, find out who the hunter is and say, hey, your traps are here, why are they here? So, I mean, do people do things illegal? Of course. Hunters, trappers do illegal things. Most of them are law-abiding hunters and trappers. But, most of us citizens are law-abiding, but some of us rob banks and do other crazy things. But if your dog gets caught on one of these, it's not too, your dog is going to be fine. Just go there, and I can show you later, or I have a couple pamphlets here to show you how to get your dog out of it. Okay? Will it hurt? I mean, if you get your foot caught in there, yes, it's going to hurt. It's not going to kill you. If you catch something in here that's a non-target animal, the trapper can go, say it's bobcat season, and you catch a bobcat in here and you get there, you can go let the bobcat out. It's not easy, but you just undo the jaws, open it up, and you basically see these things here? You can step down on them, Your dog, you can go down and do this, but if a fox had its foot in there, I'm not reaching my hands down here and doing this. There's a board that we put there, or get it in a control stick and pin it down, and then if you just loosen these jaws, they'll come open, and then just get Fido out of there. We can talk more about these things, you know, as we have questions. I just want to get through this. Coyotes are susceptible to diseases and mange, distemper, and rabies. So if you see that coyote or that animal there, that has mange. Okay, that's not what a fox or a coyote should look like. The one on the bottom, that just looks a little disheveled. That could be a rainy day. But see the other one that's totally missing its hair? If you see a fox with no hair on its tail, kind of looks like they're going through chemotherapy by losing their hair. That's a problem. It's mange. If your dog gets mange, you go to the vet, it gets some ivermectin, and it can be cured pretty easily. Obviously, wild animals don't go to the vet. We don't catch them and give them ivermectin. You have to give them a couple shots of it. If we see something, that's going to die eventually. And that's what you might run into in your yard when you go out, and that fox at that point of its mange is going to be acting strange. It's going to be doing stupid things because it's almost dead. So if you see that fox like that, you might want to call the Township Animal Control and let them know about it. Like I said, it's going to die eventually. It's going to infect other foxes in the den. It could infect your dog. I mean, if your dog's out there rolling around in the flower bed and that fox is out there, your dog could get the mange. But that fox probably wouldn't run away from you. So if you went out into your yard and that fox is sitting in the flower bed and it's just not caring and looking at you and it's not moving, then call somebody, because that's not normal activity. If the fox gets up and runs away, we don't need a call, definitely. I know last week Radnor put a thing out when the coyotes were around. It says, if this coyote is seen, call 911. I don't know what they were doing with those 911 calls. That's great. I mean, were they coming out? By the time they get out there, the coyote was probably gone. So we don't want you calling us if you see a coyote. I mean, that's normal. It's wildlife. If there's a problem with it, or if you think there's a problem with it, obviously, you know, just to say, hey, one ran through my yard. Okay. Now, bears. We did have a bear come through here 2 years ago. We want to know about that so we can catch it and take that back to the Poconos or somewhere. The Game Commission, depending on where you're at, if you have cabin up the mountains or house up the mountains, you folks that are down here in the southeast part of the state, so that's our contact number, the 610. We don't have 911. Sometimes you call 911, which is fine. Then sometimes the police or some of the animal control folks, they'll get in touch with us. But if you want to call the Game Commission directly for something, that's our number down there for the southeast. If you have a place in the northeast part of the state, whatever, we have regions. The state's divided into 6 regions, and you can see those up there on the screen. Our website is below. That's PGC, Pennsylvania Game Commission. And you can get a plethora of information. Just because you don't like to hunt and trap, maybe you do, I don't know. But just because you don't like to hunt and trap, I mean, we're responsible for all the wildlife. So we want you to go out there and look at it, go view the elk, go watch birds. So we have all kinds of information about nuisance animals on our website. We have wildlife notes on there, with that coyote wildlife note that some of you were handed. I do have some of those up here at the end. That's a wildlife note on the eastern coyote. We have one of those on just about every critter in Pennsylvania. So if you want to know the gestation period of a mallard duck and how many eggs they have and what they do and what they eat, you can get on our website and print that right out or read it, and you can know everything you want to know about wildlife. Whether you're going to hunt it or trap it, that's up to you. So that's our information. If you need to get in touch with us, that is another picture of the coyote. And I said that's the end of the slideshow for now. I can't leave this podium here but talking, but the pelts behind me are many different colors. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the color phases of a coyote. So I'm going to go grab one or two of them. I mean, you basically can see them behind me. They can be black. There was one up in Philadelphia that was killed at the hit by a car at the Northeast Airport, and it looked almost like a black dog. It was that black. They typically are this pretty much this phase or this color. Okay, the German Shepherd, a little bit of black, brown on them, but they can be totally blonde. I mean, that's just a different, color phase of the coyote. Not a phase of like each coyote is going to have this blonde color at some point in its life. Just like each one of us we're all humans, but we're a little bit different. So this is just a blonde coloration of a coyote. Somebody might see that and say, boy, that's a heck of a big fox. And rightly so, it kind of does look like a big fox, but that's a coyote. Wanted to kind of show you these two. This is the gray fox, and then this is the red fox. This is kind of a small red fox. But these are the two fox belts, red and gray. And just as a comparison, this is a wolf. We don't have any wolves in Pennsylvania. I have gotten 4 or 5 wolves, hybrid dogs, that people had illegally as pets. So once again, Philadelphia, Northeast, Philadelphia's famous for almost everything. But Pennypack Park, people were calling and saying they were seeing a coyote. I was like, okay, it's in Pennypack Park. It wasn't doing anything wrong. It's a coyote, the way they were describing it to me. I had a couple police officers that were out late at night, and they say, oh yeah, we see it. They tried to get some pictures. They were kind of grainy. This was about 5-6 years ago. Then I kept getting calls about this coyote, the calls were for a wolf, but I kept thinking it was a coyote. So I went out there a few times and sat. So I wanted to see it for myself. It comes out all the time. It's always here. So I'm going to sit there one day long enough, and I'm going to see this sucker. But I'm sitting there, and the lady comes out, and she says, oh, what are you here for? I said, I'm here for that wolf. And she says, I get some pictures of it. I said, oh, good. Can you show them to me or whatnot? So she goes in the house, comes out, and shows them to me. And sure enough, that was a wolf. I was like, holy smokes, that's not a coyote. That's a mother of coyotes right there. But it was a wolf hybrid. It was basically a guy had it as a pet illegally. He took it for a walk in the park. It got off the leash, and it was very docile. It wasn't hurting anyone. And this is the size of those. So you can see I keep forgetting I got to kind of stay near this. You can see that this is one heck of a coyote. Okay, so this is the size of a wolf versus the coyote. So that one in Philadelphia happened to come out every evening, and people started to feed it, and we tried to catch it, and it got to be a real challenge, because when we would show up, everybody with a cell phone would show up. The police had to block off Algon Avenue for a couple hours each evening while we tried to work, and what we were trying to do is we were trying to catch it humanely with a dog cage, with a dog trap. It's just not going to work. They're not that stupid to go in there, but domestic dog might. And people think when you catch something, or when we're trying to do something sometimes, it took some explaining, but when you eat, or when we inject you with when we shoot you with a tranquilizer dart, okay, our guns look like 22s. That's what they are. They're basically a 22 rifle made up into a dart gun. So it looks like I'm going to come out and shoot this animal, but we're trying to dart it. Now, when we dart it, it doesn't magic. You don't hit it with a dart and it falls asleep immediately. If I shoot you with a needle, you're probably going to get pretty angry and you're going to run. So that's what the critter does. It runs off into the woods, and then we have to find it. So we tried to shoot this thing right around dark when it would come out. And so we'll be able to find it, because in a half hour, 45 minutes, it's going to wake up again. So if we don't find it, it's going to wake up. So what we basically did was we put some hot dogs out with some tranquilizers in it. It would have to eat it, get into its system. That even takes longer than a needle injection. And it just wasn't working. Every time we went over with the guns to try to tranquilize this thing, the public would yell and scream, get away, they're trying to kill you. And then we had to have a meeting kind of with the public and say, listen, you need to stop and leave us alone, because if we have to block off the road another night, somebody above my pay grade is going to say, listen, this dog or coyote, wolf, whatever it was, just kill it, because it's costing a lot of money for us to be down here trying to trap it. We're blocking off the road. We got cops here. It's pretty easy to catch if the public would let us do our job. So what we basically did is we left for a day or two, went and parked our cars about a half mile down the road at 12 o'clock at night, and snuck in there. So when our cars showed up, the public didn't show up. It was late at night. We set up 4 of these leg hold traps, which the public wasn't real happy about, but we need to catch this sucker, and this is gonna catch it. So we set 4 of these up, and within about an hour, we just were sitting in the woods waiting, and we heard a yelp. We went over within 5 minutes, and the trap was set for a couple of hours, but within 5 minutes, we were over there, got it out, stuck it in the dog cage, complete, job done. So sometimes with the bears, that happens too with the bears. People go irate. We have news helicopters up. We got 7 media cameras there. Everybody's out. Just let us go catch this darn bear, tranquilize it. We'll bring it down once it's asleep. We'd be happy to let you come touch it, feel it, pet it. We're going to process it. Bring the media cameras in, have a look at it, but let us catch it before it ends up, getting hit by a car or something stupid happens, and we end up having to kill it or it gets injured. And when they climb up a tree, that's great because they climb up a tree. That's perfect. We want to dart them, but then we need the public to get the heck away because if you're up in a tree and you get darted, you're going to feel drunk. So then the bear says, I need to get down. But when he looks down and sees a plethora of people, he says, I'm not coming down. Then he falls asleep and he falls out of the tree. When he falls out of the tree, he breaks a leg, breaks a back, and then that's a problem. It's perfect if they're up the tree. That's what we need. Boom, we shoot him with the dart. Everybody get back. They all come down, fall asleep. It's actually pretty easy. It's the people that are usually the issue. But sometimes that's what you have to deal with. So it's almost 10 of 8. We have 10 minutes or so. I could stay whenever. I don't know what we have the room till, but yeah. If you want to hang out till 11 o'clock, that's fine. I guess 12 o'clock I have to go because that would be close of business.
Questions have to be in the microphone.
Warden, do we have feral hogs in Pennsylvania?
Oh yeah, not around here, but yeah, there are feral hogs in other counties, and they can cause a lot of damage. They basically, when they eat, they put their nose in the ground and they tear the heck out of people's property or agricultural crops. They can cause a lot of damage. So they get loose from canned hunts or wherever, and yeah, they're not around here, but we do have them in Pennsylvania.
Do you have any knowledge of where a coyote or a pack of coyotes may be living in Haverford Township, like the reserve?
That could be a spot for them. Do I have an idea of where they live? No, I have no idea exactly. I don't know where any dens are. I can tell you that in Chad's Ford, we hear them at night when we're on patrol. By the Delaware County Prison, we hear them quite frequently down by Delaware County Prison. Mark, anywhere else in the county? A couple guys are here from. Yeah, I cover the 2 counties. Mark here is one of our officers from Delaware County, so he's more intimately familiar with it. Like he stays down here, so that's why if he knew anything. The question was, do we know where any coyotes are in Haverford Township? And I just was basically telling him that we've heard them on night patrol at the prison and Chatsford. You can come up or use that, yeah, whatever.
I'll just throw a little bit. I mean, we don't really know. I don't know any around here. I'm through this township often, and I don't see them. But even if you see one, where they live is kind of hard to pick out because they hide under stuff that's like it's not really easy to tell. And then they move around often. They'll take their themselves, or if they have pups, they'll take them and they'll move them somewhere else. So just because you see them there, they may not be there the next week. So they're kind of hard to find.
I neglected to mention that they'll use a old fox hole or groundhog hole as a den. So, I mean, they could be under your shed. I'm sure people around here have foxes under their sheds or, in the back. But no, I mean, to answer a question sort of like that, in Cheltenham where I live, there's a golf course that I hunt on frequently. I've never seen a coyote there. On all the hunting I've done, and it's not every day, but in the hunting I've done there, look, I've been out there for hours, days, on end. Never saw one. I've seen them on my camera 5 or 6 times. And I take roadkill deer that get killed in that township, and I put them in there because I know there's a coyote around and there's foxes. And other things will eat it. I can put a roadkill deer there, come back in the day, and say, the coyote's around because of what I said of how they tear it up. I'll put another one there 3 days later, and it's just the foxes, or it's not even touched. So they have a range. They're not there all the time. That could have been just one wandering through.
Just,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Owen might be able to answer that.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, Owen. He's here all the time. Maybe he knows.
Um,
He meets him for coffee in the morning.
I've had calls after the incident with the coyote at the front of the middle school. We've had sightings, allegedly, and we need the public's help, take pictures or something like that. I went out, looked for signs, and could see no signs. The next thing I know, it's they were up in Radnor, so they keep moving. So
In my career, in 22 years in Delaware County and Philadelphia, I've seen probably 3 or 4. And I'm out at night, I'm out during the day, I'm in the woods a lot. So I've only actually seen 3 or 4, and they were all right by the Northeast Airport. When I was up there at night picking up deer that they remove off the airfield, I heard them and actually saw them run across the parking lot at like 2 in the morning. And a lot of times the police on night patrol, like the overnight shift guys, they see them a lot because they're out there at 2, 3 in the morning when the coyotes are out there.
That's kind of why I said that, because we had 2 golf courses, and we had...
Yeah, but hold on, so that everybody can hear you on the
We
TV.
have 2 golf courses, and we have the reserve, which is a lot of woods there. That's why
Absolutely.
I asked.
That's a perfect spot for them.
Right, the golf course is right there.
Up down along the B&W trail is, what's down there?
Sir, just give me a moment, it has to be in the microphone.
Because then otherwise, you ever watch the sports press conferences where the coach is answering all the questions, but you can never hear what they are? I hate that.
Few things.
Go ahead.
Number one, I live up by the reserve, lived there for 40 years,
40 years, okay.
and never seen a coyote, nor have I heard one, because if you have your windows and doors open at night in this time of weather, you hear everything. So, haven't heard that. I just want to confirm, so the Pennsylvania Game and Wildlife Commission, if you were reporting a coyote sighting, and it was not apparently either sick or injured, you would make every effort to catch and release it? Or would you just come and put it down?
What was the question again?
If a
it was just a
coyote was
go ahead.
sighted and it was not obviously sick or injured,
Uh-huh.
would you make every effort to catch it and release it?
We're not making any effort to catch him. If it's you're saying it's
Oh, I mean,
perfectly
if it
healthy,
was-
walking around.
Okay, that's all I needed confirmed.
We're not in the business of relocating animals because people don't like to look at them or see them.
It's fine. They're-
So
I'm
no,
okay
okay,
with
no,
it.
that's fine.
I'm
I mean,
okay
people
with it.
call. I have had people call and are aggravated at the hawk that is on the line
it's-
eating the birds. As we don't come out and catch that hawk and remove it. Okay, if it's injured, like say it gets hit by a car, and that one that happened to get hit by a car, and
That's
it wanders up in your yard, and it's in your yard
That's different.
suffering. We definitely want to know about that, or call Owen, call the township police, because we want to put that animal out of its misery if it needs to be.
I will clarify my gray box comment, because a few years ago I did call the Pennsylvania Game and Wildlife Commission, because one morning around 4 in the morning, there was this ruckus outside, as there often
yeah.
is with all the wildlife. And on the roof of my garage were 2 raccoons, and they're big up there at that neck of the township, and this creature running back and forth and all of a sudden all 3 of them went up the tree. And from what I described to the organization, it was a gray fox.
It could have been. I've actually had.
I thought it was a marten, but they said they're not here. But I described it to them, and all 3 animals went right up the tree.
No martins. They're kind of up in the north central part of the
That's what you
state.
said, but when you showed that picture of the gray fox, that was it.
Yeah, I've actually had. It actually happened on my street. I heard that ruckus that was going on. It sounded like somebody was getting murdered out back of the house at like 12 o'clock, and 3 police cars. I heard cars coming up the street, and the windows were open. And I looked out, and police car after police car come up the street with the lights out. And one came up my driveway, and I went out and got his attention. I don't want to throw the spotlights on. I don't know what they're doing. I would imagine that they were there they said they got a call for somebody getting raped in the park. And I kind of said, well, you could check it out, but I just heard it 5 minutes ago, and it was a fox killing something down there. But I mean, somebody heard that, and it can sound pretty nasty out there.
Anybody else? More questions? Jerry, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much, Jerry.
You better not have questions.
Jeremy, jump on the microphone. Thank you. And that'll conclude tonight. If there's any questions, you can contact my office or Owen O'Connell's office, 610-446-1000, and ask for either myself, Jim McCann's, or Owen O'Connell. And I just want to end up by saying I actually think it's interesting. I'm kind of happy that we're having these sightings. I grew up in Haverford Township. I don't ever remember seeing a hawk as a kid. I certainly didn't see a fox. You know, so I think it's a sign of things being very healthy too. It's a healthier environment. On the other side, we got to learn to live with them too. So, you know, but I'm okay with it. As long as we keep each other safe, I think we're fine. Thank you very much. Come on up and take a look at what we have here too.